You have been taught to chase comfort. You have been trained to seek what feels good, to obey the invisible gravity of the ordinary. But comfort is a slow poison. And the quiet tragedy is that you don't even notice the damage until years have already been stolen. You think you're safe, but safety is the most dangerous illusion in the world because it kills potential long before it kills the body. This is the paradox you've lived inside without realizing it. The more you avoid struggle, the weaker your life becomes. And the weaker your life becomes, the more struggle you create. You escape nothing. You only delay the confrontation. And every delay makes the final confrontation far more brutal. But deeper than that, there is a truth you've avoided for years, a truth most people never dare to face. Your life will not change until you change the laws you live by. Because whether you know it or not, you are already obeying laws, psychological laws, social laws, principles that govern the outcomes of your relationships, your money, your discipline, your future, your identity. Jim Rohn said it clearly, your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. But he meant something sharper, something colder, something most people misinterpret. He meant that your life changes only when you change the codes you operate with, the internal rules you never question, the invisible scripts controlling your decisions. If those codes are weak, your life will be weak. If those codes are strong, your life will become unstoppable. But most people never rewrite their codes because rewriting your code requires confronting the parts of yourself. You've tried to hide the parts that don't want to work, don't want to push, don't want to risk, don't want to evolve. Yet every prison is self-built, and the walls are always made of excuses. You've lived long enough to know this already. Your excuses have never protected you. They've only delayed your transformation. And transformation is the only way out, not motivation, not high pay, temporary inspiration, but real internal reconstruction. The kind that feels like demolition before it feels like progress. And if you're still listening now, it's because you know your life is overdue for reconstruction. Something inside you is whispering that you cannot keep living like this. Something inside you is calling you to break the pattern. And breaking the pattern begins with understanding the principles that shape destiny. But before we begin, you must accept one brutal reality. No one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not fate, not luck, not timing. You are the rescue mission. And until you take absolute ownership, nothing changes. This is the point where most people turn away because it's easier to blame something external. But once you take full responsibility, the power returns to your hands. And that moment is the beginning of freedom. You're about to enter 7 principles that will permanently alter the direction of your life. Not motivational cliches, not generic self-help nonsense. These principles are psychological weapons. If you internalize them, you will become a different human being, stronger, sharper, more disciplined, more influential, more dangerous. And yet there is something deeper that we haven't touched yet, something that will confront you toward the end. But you're not ready for that truth yet. You will be, but not now. The first shift is this: everything you want, everything you dream about, everything you secretly imagine late at night has a price. And the price is always paid in advance. People look at success and see the reward, never the invoice. They don't see the isolation, the psychological warfare, the sacrifices, the nights full of doubt, the mornings when you push despite exhaustion. They don't see the version of you that had to die for the new one to emerge. That's why so many fail. They want the reward but refuse the price. When you accept that the price must be paid early, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop negotiating. You stop hesitating. You move. You act. You sacrifice now so you can choose your future later. Soon the discipline becomes power. But discipline alone enough. There's a darker truth waiting beneath it. Because the second principle is that your environment is stronger than your willpower. People like to believe they're independent thinkers, unshaped by the world around them. But history, psychology, and every social experiment prove the opposite. You rise or fall the standards of the people you surround yourself with. If your circle weak, you will become weak. If your circle is unfocused, you will become unfocused. If your circle is drowning in mediocrity, you will suffocate with them. Because energy is contagious, mindset is contagious, and mediocrity spreads faster than opportunity. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers to guard their proximity, to carefully who sits near them, because influence is invisible until it's too late. Jim Rohn simplified it. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But the psychological depth behind that statement is enormous. Your mind is programmable. And your environment is the programmer. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. It's not just people shaping you. It's the expectations they place on you. Humans adapt to expectations the way trees grow toward light. If everyone around you expects nothing from you, you begin expecting nothing from yourself. If everyone around you tolerates excuses, you begin tolerating your own. If everyone around you celebrates smallness, you shrink. And every day, your potential dies quietly without resistance, until one day you wake up realizing that you never lived your own life. You lived a life shaped by the weak expectations of the people around you. That leads to the third principle: the world does not reward intentions. It rewards outcomes. You don't get paid for the potential you have, only for the potential you execute. You don't get respect for what you could do, only for what you actually do. The world does not honor the dreamers. It honors the disciplined, the ones who show up even when they don't feel like it, the ones who move forward despite the fog of doubt, the ones who treat effort as a ritual. This is the principle most people need, yet most ignore life as a scoreboard. You can't argue with the results. You can only improve them. And improvement begins with confronting your weaknesses, not hiding from them. That confrontation is uncomfortable, but discomfort is the birthplace of evolution. But you and I both know that discomfort is feared. That's why people avoid accountability. They don't want to see the truth of who they really are. And yet accountability is the fourth principle that will change everything. Accountability is the mirror that does not lie. A mirror that will show you every flaw you've tried to excuse, every habit you've justified, every fear you've hidden behind. Holding yourself accountable is brutal because it removes the luxury of blame. There is no one left to point at except the person in the mirror. But the moment you choose accountability is the moment your power multiplies. Because accountability transforms hope into strategy. It transforms dreams into plans. It transforms motivation into discipline. And discipline is the foundation of freedom. But here is the paradox: accountability feels like restriction, yet it is the only path to liberation. If people live in cages because they avoid the chains that would free them. Rules, standards, boundaries. Most people treat these as limitations, when in reality, they are weapons. Without standards, you drift. Without rules, you collapse. Without boundaries, you are invaded. Stoicism warned us centuries ago: a person without control over themselves is a slave, even if they believe they are free. But there is still a deeper truth we haven't reached yet, one that most fear to even hear. But we'll get there. The fifth principle is the one people resist the most. You must learn to suffer strategically. Not all suffering destroys you. Some suffering strengthens the structure of your character. Some suffering refines your identity. Some suffering is necessary to collapse the weaker version of yourself, making room for the stronger version to emerge. The world teaches you to avoid pain. But the strongest individuals, the most resilient thinkers, the most capable leaders, all share the same secret: they choose their suffering. They don't wait for life to impose hardship. They impose discipline before hardship arrives. They train their mind before crisis emerges. They build emotional armor before the storm hits. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, understood this deeply. He wrote that the mind must be trained to expect embrace challenge, to see obstacles as fuel. Because a mind that expects ease is weak. A mind that expects hardship is unbreakable. But there is a deeper, darker truth still hidden. Because suffering alone isn't enough. You must also know how to detach. And that is the sixth principle, the principle of emotional detachment. The ability to move through the world without being enslaved by the chaos around you. Detachment is not coldness, it's control. It's the ability to feel emotions without being ruled by them. It's the strength to walk away from people who drain you, no matter how attached you once were. It's the discipline to let go of opportunities that do not align with your long-term vision. It's the clarity to choose growth over comfort, even when comfort seduces you. Detachment is the psychological armor that protects your purpose. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they are emotionally entangled in distractions. They tie their self-worth to opinions. They tie their identity to validation. They tie their future to people who were never meant to stay. Detachment frees you, and freedom sharpens you. But here comes the most dangerous truth of all, the seventh principle, the one that separates the extraordinary from everyone else's identity must be engineered. You do not stumble into greatness. You design it. Piece by piece, decision by decision, day by day. Identity is not discovered. It is built. And everything you do, every habit you repeat, every standard you reinforce, every boundary you set, every sacrifice you make is a brick in the construction of a new identity. Jim Rohn said it elegantly. Success is something you attract by the person you become, meaning you must become the kind of person who attracts the life you want. Not hope for it, not wish for it, not pretend to deserve it, but become the person who naturally pulls it into reality. Identity is a choice. And yet most people never choose. They inherit an identity from their environment, their childhood, their society. They become a copy of the people around them. They never question the script. But the moment you realize you can rewrite your script, everything shifts. You stop living by default. You start living by design. and a designed identity is unstoppable. But we're still not done, because all 7 principles connect to one final truth, one final revelation that transforms everything. And the truth is this: the life you want is already waiting for you, but it is waiting the other side of the version of yourself you've been avoiding. Your future is not blocked by circumstances. It's blocked by your comfort. Your potential is not locked by fate. It is locked behind your fears. And every day you delay your transformation, you strengthen the prison you're stuck in. But you're not here to stay imprisoned. You're here because something inside you already knows you're meant for more. Something inside you is whispering that your current life is too small for your potential. Something inside you is ready to evolve. The question is whether you will act on that whisper or silence it, because the whisper won't last forever. If you ignore it long enough, it becomes quiet, and eventually it dies. Don't let it die. This is your moment to choose. Your life does not change by accidental, it changes by principle. It changes by discipline. It changes by design. And now you have the principles. You have the blueprint. You have the psychological weapons. All that remains is the decision to use them.